Okay, well, good evening, everybody. It's a great pleasure to see everybody tonight, and also particularly to introduce our speakers, the first of whom is well known to everybody, I think, Harold Hester, who is in Gaborone at the moment, compared to me in cloudy old Liverpool in the UK. And without further ado, I will ask Harold to give us an introduction to the night sky for September of 2023. So, Harold, and if everybody can be on mute while Harold is speaking, and then we can have a few questions at the end. That's great. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. I'm quite pleased to see we have 12 participants, probably twice as many as we normally have, so that's quite nice. My introduction to the night sky September features a dying star, which is a photograph taken by the James Webb telescope, which I'll refer to a little bit later. Yeah, why doesn't that change? I can't. Oh, there we go. So the planets that are present at present, Venus is visible in the morning sky, but I mean, it says it's visible, but it's right in the dusk. Jupiter is visible near the stars in the morning as well. Saturn later at night tonight. Well, in fact, we had a good view of Saturn last night, right next to the moon, and Saturn is quite close to Earth at present. Very close, and we'll be giving good views of the rings at this time. It is visible to the naked eye, but better still through binoculars or a telescope. Then I just thought I'd mention that the three constellations, Pisces, Aquarius, and Capricorn, are clearly visible at night. That's easy if you're at a darkened sky. But it's quite nice to see those three constellations. Some easy to identify bright stars: Procyon, yellowish white star in Canis Minor, that's in the west. Sirius, brightest star in the night sky, located in Canis Major, but it's barely visible to us in Gabs, yeah, because it's very low on the horizon. Of course, Antares is there, still very much winter here. Red supergiant in Scorpius. Achernar in Eridanus is clearly visible. Fomalhaut in Piscis Austrinus, just south of Saturn. Maybe that'll come up a little bit later tonight. Canopus, always a friendly giant star from Carina, yellowish white star in Carina. Altair, white star, brightest star in Aquila. And then don't forget the northern triangle made up of Vega, Altair, and Deneb. Vega is very low in the northern sky, so we may not see it too soon, but or too early. But those are the easy to identify bright stars. Then other interesting objects to look for this month, looking south. We have three interesting nebula: Trifid Nebula near Sagittarius, 47 Tucanae Nebula, and the small Magellanic Cloud near Hydrus. They're clearly visible. And Tarantula Nebula and the large Magellanic Cloud between Mensa and Dorado, lower down in the south. Mensa is actually one of my favorites because I think it's one of the smallest constellations, and it's the only constellation named after an object on Earth, namely Table Mountain. Looking north, Andromeda Galaxy is just above the northeastern horizon, and it's always nice to see Andromeda. We'll be meeting them soon. Well, probably about, is it 5 billion years or 5 million years? I think it's a question of a few noughts. But they're our nearest galaxy, and they are visible just above the northeast horizon. Don't forget big dates coming up. Well, that's a bit of a misnomer because last night was a big date with the blue moon, very close to Earth. it was very impressive. This moon, large moon in the west, as it always is when it's a full moon. And then on the 21st September is the equinox. And then later in the month of September is another full moon again. Yeah. Also, the associated with the blue moon, as I mentioned, was Saturn. And you can see Saturn clearly for this next month, September. It'd be very interesting to watch that. I'd like to just mention a little bit about the James Webb Space Telescope. It's such an ambitious project. It will explore the origins of the universe and the formation of stars and planets and the search for life beyond Earth. I find it fascinating. It was launched about 30 years after Hubble, which served us well. And James Webb is justifying all the hype, and it's coming up with some magnificent pictures. If you see on the left, is the same scene. On the left is a picture taken by Hubble, and on the right by James Webb. So you can see there's a lot more definition and a lot more depth to the James Webb photograph than there was to the Hubble, and we thought Hubble was fantastic, which it was, but James Webb is even better. What I like about James Webb is that NASA publish a photograph every day. If you go to the NASA website, you Google NASA and James Webb, and you'll come up with a photograph every day, different one. Now, on the right, we have Jupiter, which is a photograph taken by James Webb. And it's so interesting. You can see the auroras north and south are high altitudes above the northern southern poles of Jupiter, and they shine in a filter that is mapped to redder colors. Sorry about the spelling mistake of colors. I should have corrected that. Which also reflects the light reflected from the lower clouds and upper hazes. A different filter shows the hazes swirling around the northern and southern poles. You can see that how hazy it is there. That's from a different filter, shows you that. And then the great red spot is not red. I can't see it, but it's a different color, and that's the storm that is even bigger than Earth. And it appears white in these views, as do other clouds, because they're reflecting a lot of sunlight. But that is a very, very impressive, I thought, a very impressive photograph from James Webb. And so why I'm showing it is for coming months, if you just go onto that website and have a look every day and see what the new photographs coming up. That's the intricate details, the remains of a dying star. That came up this last week. It's just a beautiful photograph and gives us an idea of what a dying star looks like. So thank you to James Webb Space Telescope and NASA. Some references. I use the 2023 Guide to the Night Sky. That's probably my main reference. Then the NASA is for the Webb telescope images. The South African Astronomical Observatory has normally got some good points. They have a WhatsApp, not a WhatsApp, a WhatsApp section showing what's up in the sky, but that normally only comes in, they only produce that once the month has started. And then, of course, I think our website is very good. The Astronomical Society of Botswana is a very good website. And that's my story for this month.
Well, thank you so much, Harold. And I know that this is something that's been achieved against in adverse conditions because of you having your laptop stolen. So thanks ever so much for putting that great talk together. We have a few minutes if there are any questions for Harold. And it's also great to see that we now have 19 people online. and most of those people were here for most of your talk, actually, Harold. So that was really good.
That's quite exciting.
Yeah, it is.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Harold?
Can I ask one?
Yes, go ahead, Dave.
Harold, thank you very much. I do enjoy your talks very much. I'm not as clever as everybody else here. How do I identify Capricorn?
How? David, you've seen our logo.
Yeah.
Just look for our logo in the sky, and it's followed just after Aquarius. It's maybe the best thing to do. Yeah, the best thing. Two things you must do: get your bearings. Find the ecliptic line. That's the line followed by the sun and the moon and the planets. And Capricorn is on that line. Then the other thing is to find Scorpio. Scorpio is very easy to find. And
yeah, I know Scorpio.
Capricorn comes after Scorpio.
Oh, okay, thank you.
That's probably the best way of doing it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. And just put our logo up there. You'll see our logo.
Okay. Any other questions for Harold? In terms of the blue moon itself, am I right in thinking that's just because there are 2 full moons in 1 month, and that's how the name comes about, rather than anything to do with the color of the? And so it's a rare event to have 2 full moons in the same calendar month. But it's also called the supermoon because it happens to be a little bit closer to Earth at this time.
Yeah.
Although I guess you wouldn't really, the average person wouldn't be able to tell the difference in size of it, but or brightness, but it was coincident with the so-called supermoon, so it was special from that point of view. But am I right in thinking that blue moon, that's the definition of blue moon, or am I completely wrong?
You're exactly right, Mike. Yeah, you should take up astronomy.
I might do. I'm thinking about it.
No, you're exactly right. That's
Okay.
what it is.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Any other questions? If not, we are.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a quick comment about finding things.
Sorry. Yeah,
it's okay. Regarding finding things in the sky, there are apps that you can use on smartphones that use the GPS and the accelerometer, etc., in your phone, so that when you point it up to the sky, it can show you, what you're looking at on the screen of your phone. I have Star Walk on my phone, but there are others available. So that's an easy way to find things in the sky when you're not familiar with it, or not familiar with parts of it, to use one of those apps. And they work pretty well.
Yeah. Yes. Sorry, Harry.
Roger, if I can make an intervention with that, I agree with you. That's a very good way of finding it. The only thing is that way you never learn how to find where they are. So
that's very true. And I mean, the number of postgraduate students I've had in the last 30 years who will, and I'm sure Mike can attest to this, they'll do a PhD in observational astronomy, but they have absolutely no clue where these things are in the sky. They just know the array and the deck of objects that they're studying. So yeah, it's a bit like, I suppose, using a GPS to find your way around. After a while, you need to throw away the GPS and learn the roads. But it's a good way to get started.
Yeah. No, that's a very good analogy, actually, because I find that we tend to, if we're going to a place that's a fair distance away, we'll look at a paper map, actually, to look at its general disposition compared to everywhere else. And then we'll use the GPS to home in when we get closer. And
once you get closer,
yeah. So, yeah, you're right. That's a good analogy. But yeah.
But the other thing is, it's analogous to a calculator. People can't multiply anymore. They depend on the calculator. Whereas the old people, like myself, Easy, multiply 43 by 37 in my head.
You get out your logbook or your slide rule.
No, slide rule. Slide rule. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So thanks again, Harold. I think we have Kushatha online. Is that right, Kush?
Yeah, I'm here, Mike. Hi, Mike.
Hi. Oh, great. So do you want to,
David.
you should be able to share your screen, actually.
Okay. Yeah, I am able to.
Okay. And I will just do a quick introduction. It's great to see you, Kush. And Kush is unusual, as it says in this short bio, transitioned from computer scientist to astrophysicist, and is now using all those skills in her current job, which I'm really pleased to say is in Botswana, helping to develop the AVN. But Kush did her undergraduate studies through the Botswana Accountancy College on a course run from the UK, if I'm right in saying this, from the University of Sunderland up in the northeast of the UK. And then you did your MSc in computer science at BIUST, and you moved from there to do a PhD, to actually physically live in London, to do your PhD at the University of Hertfordshire, which is just outside London, north of London, and is a very well-known and very well-respected astrophysics group worldwide. And but the great news is, as I said, that Kush is now back in Botswana and using all those skills and talent to help drive the AVN project as a software and data processing engineer, but also has a great in-depth knowledge of astronomy as well. And one of the super things about Kush is, she gets stuck into things and sees the bigger picture and really wants to drive astronomy and science and engineering in general forward. And part of that is developing the project that you're going to hear about tonight. So without further ado, I'll hand over to Kush, and we'll take questions and so on right at the end. And in the meantime, if everybody can stay mute, that would be great. But Kush, I'll just hand over to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mike. And thank you for giving me this time to talk about this lovely project that we have in BIUST. So like Mike has said, my name is Kushatha Ntwaetsile, and I'm a software and data processing engineer in BIUST at the AV and SK department. And I do have that interesting background, moving from computer science to astrophysics. So this is a lovely project that we have at BIUST. It's a vision that we have. So I'm going to take you through it. Then, like Mike said, we'll have questions, comments in the end. So Astro Park is a vision that we have as the astronomy group in BIUST. We believe that this project will be beneficial to education, research, technology, and to tourism as well, because we know that these days in astronomy, we have what is known as astrotourism. And we believe that through this project, we'll be able to diversify the economy through innovation and also developing a knowledge-based economy in Botswana. So in this talk, I'm going to kind of take you through like the wider context of the project. Then we'll look at the project timelines and how much this project is going to cost, and just the overall impact that the project will have in Botswana. So that's the overview of the project. I don't know if somebody was talking. This is the overview of the talk. I will give a brief introduction, a little bit on the background information. Then we'll look at why Botswana has a unique position in terms of doing astronomy in Botswana. Then we'll look at the project description, aims and objectives of the project, timelines and budget, like I've said. And then we'll look at our benchmark cases, which are Chile, and Thailand. Sorry about that background noise. And then we'll have our conclusion. Like it's always been said, we are now in the fourth industrial revolution, and technology and innovation are like at the core of that, and even space science. So many countries are now exploring space science, and Botswana doesn't want to be left behind as well. That's why we have projects such as BOTSAT-1. That's why we are having the SKA, the AVN in Botswana. So the government also want to build expertise, capacity, and infrastructure in order to utilize space science and technology. So Astro Park will be like the cornerstone project in terms of developing Botswana space science and technology strategy. So normally, before we give a talk on what Astro Park is and how we plan to do everything, we normally like to play a video of the Astro Park that is in Thailand. This is the model that we'll be adopting. So the Thais are the technical partners in this project. So normally we just like to play this video so that we can give people an idea of when we say Astro Park, the optical telescopes, and the planetarium, what exactly are we talking about? So it's a 3-minute long video, so it will be what I'll be showing you next. So from that video, then we'll have a chat on Astro Park, because now we have visualized what I'm talking about. Let's hope it plays. There you go. I'm trying to make it full screen. So I'll just play it from here. I think I'm able to do full screen from here. There you go. And Thai, but don't worry, get to visualize. So this is the Astro Park in Thailand. That's a planetarium. This is planetarium. That's the telescope and more telescope. That's a dome that is outside. I think that's it. We can go back to the talk. Okay, so what we have, how do I make it full screen now? So I'm trying to, go back to the slideshow. No. Okay. Okay, yeah. So what we have just watched is the Princess Rinden Astro Park in Thailand, like I've said. So the Thais are our technical partner in this project. So we are planning to bring the same Astro Park to BIUST in Palape. So the reason why we like to play this video is that people can actually visualize, like I said, because normally when we talk about the planetarium and so on, normally people don't have an idea of how it looks like. So it's normally better if you give like a visual to what exactly we are talking about. So that's the Astro Park, and I'll just give a little bit of a background information. So BIUST has been tasked with like developing astronomy in Botswana. And astronomy projects, they're like key instrumental drivers in the strategic plan for BIUST. And already we do have land that has been allocated for this project. And like I said, the Thais are our technical partner because of their success in terms of astronomy. We do have an MOU signed with the Thais. So yeah, we are working together with them so that they can help us in terms of developing Astro Park. So this project is going to combine astronomy, recreation, and tourism, because like we saw in the video, we'll be having like local kids coming in to visit the Astro Park. Even just the general public will be coming over to visit the park and get to see the optical telescopes, get to visit the planetarium, and so on. So if you have people coming in, it means we are somehow going to be able to develop the community and also create opportunities for sustainable development. So what places us at an advantage as Botswana in relation to other countries? Like when we talk about astrotourism, what's our unique position as a country? So in terms of our geographical and meteorological advantage for astronomy, we do have clear skies, low humidity, and a flat plateau. According to statistics, we have like 345 days in a year where we just have like clear, beautiful skies. So with that, we can say it's very nice to observe in that kind of geographical environment. So we are also close to South Africa, which is hosting the SKA. So that is sort of an advantage because it means we'll be one of the hosting partners as the SKA Phase 2 will be coming along. And also looking in terms of the population density, we are a little over 2,000. So it means our population is quite low, and that means we don't have so much light pollution. Our skies are dark, like I said, so it's easier for us to do optical astronomy because of the dark skies. And also it means the radio frequency interference is quite low, and that is ideal for astronomy. So in terms of tourism, as a country, we are well known for tourism. In that area, our tourism sector is well developed. So we can kind of enhance it by including or adding astrotourism to that. So imagine if you have somebody going to the Okavango Delta, they do their normal excursions, seeing the Chobe River and so on, and then in the evening they do stargazing. So that's how we can actually enhance our tourism sector in that regard. So the project itself now, Astro Park. So it's inspired by the Princess Rinden Astro Park, which is the one that we just saw in the video. It is being done in collaboration with NARIT, and will be hosted in Palape at BIUST. Like I said, we already have like a 200 by 200 meter land just by the main gate. So that's where we are planning to host Astro Park. So we have a 50-seater planetarium. So the planetarium is just like your normal movie theater, but in place of seeing like your actual movie, you kind of see like simulation of the night sky. We can also host stargazing events and so on. So this will be optical astronomy equipment, and it will be used for entertainment and educational purposes. Like we saw kids coming in to learn about astronomy, to learn about planets and so on in the planetarium. So the observatory will be like a learning center and a laboratory again for optical astronomers. We'll be having like optical astronomers coming in to do their research. We'll be having just the general public coming in to learn about astronomy as the as it will be open to the public for a small fee. So this will be source of information and entertainment. So the small fee that the public will be getting in with, we are hoping that we can use that for sustainability purposes. But I will get to talk about that more in the next slide. So those are the plans of the Astro Park, but this one is the one in Narit. So because we'll be adopting the same model, it means it will look something like exactly the one that is in sorry about that, the one that is in Thailand. So it's beautiful state-of-the-art facilities. So what exactly will we be having? So in terms of the telescopes that we are going to procure and install, we are going to have a 1 meter optical telescope with camera for research. And then we are going to have a 40 centimeter optical telescope with two 36 centimeter optical telescopes for students and the general public. Then we are going to have a 70 millimeter solar telescope for daytime use for the public. And then we are going to have the housing infrastructure, because as we were seeing in the video, we were having a dome opening and closing. So that dome will house the 1 meter optical telescope, and then we'll have a roof enclosure for the smaller telescopes. So it also means we need infrastructure for building the 50-seater planetarium. And then in the planetarium, obviously, we'll need to have a projector and a sound system for us to be able to simulate the night skies. So what are the aims and objectives of this project? Why do we want to bring Astro Park so hard to Botswana, to the Palape community? We want to reaffirm the importance of space science for the future prosperity of the country. We are always talking about enthusing students, making sure they take up STEM subjects and so on. So we want to show people how important space science is. So we want to also develop technological capabilities, develop human capital and international reputation, because you can imagine how many jobs are going to be created from this project. And you can also imagine what kind of technology will this bring, because as you were looking, you were seeing some people doing data analysis and so on. So where there's astronomy, obviously there's always some kind of technology that comes from it. And we want to enhance the interest of just students generally in terms of appreciating and studying STEM subjects. When you saw in that video, you saw like primary school kids coming to visit the center. So imagine our kids at this days, they're interested in astronomy. So imagine having a place where they can actually go and learn about astronomy, what it can do for them. So this will be a great place for students to come and just learn about astronomy in general. Even the general population, it's not only kids who are interested in astronomy, but even just the general public, because astronomy is something that they have known during the years. They knew about stars and so on. But now for them to be able to see that using the telescopes, and for them to be able to see that being simulated, it will actually be nice even for older people, not only for the kids. So this will be like the first planetarium and the first observatory that we'll have in the country. So this will just place us as a country at the forefront of astronomy research. And then, like I said, where there's astronomy, there's technology, there's job creation. So this will provide like high-level technical training and job opportunities for the citizens. When we are talking about job opportunities, we are not only talking about science job related and everything, but once you have something that is coming out, even like people from the community, they always have like job opportunities coming from there. So everybody will have something from Astro Park. So what is the value? What value will we get from this project? So Astro Park will drive greater engagement of local schools and the public in astronomy. I've already said that when I was talking about the aims and objective, we'll get local schools and the public involved, and they will get to learn about astronomy. And because there will be labs, there will be telescopes where like BIUST graduates or just physics students can come in and learn and do their lab work and so on. It means that we'll be able to produce graduates who are well-rounded, who have done the work, the actual work in the field. And once it's operational, because of our beautiful skies, we are hoping we'll have more partnerships, more collaborations, people wanting to come in, place their instruments on site, or people coming in using the instruments, and we can do like research collaborations, training collaborations, and so on. Because it will be in Palape, so it will be more like a tourist attraction. Even the way it is placed, like at the main gate, we are hoping that when somebody is passing through the A1, they will be able to see the dome and they will want to know more about it, come and see it. So we are hoping it will be more of a tourist attraction for people to come to Palape and actually see just the beauty of the village itself. And we are hoping we will be having maybe around 50,000 students and tourists annually visiting the center. And I've already spoken about this one, creation of high science skills job and technology jobs, but even just jobs for the general public. So how does it align to the strategies that we have in place as a country, or the visions that we have as a country? I've already said it aligns to the strategy that we have as BIUST in terms of research, but then it needs to align to the national strategy. And for it to align to the national strategy, it has to be through the visions, the plans that we have as a country. So when we look at Vision 2036, the first pillar, I believe is the one that we always talk about most. Knowledge-based economy, human capital development, infrastructure development. So when you look at Astro Park generally as a project, you will see that it encompasses all this. It will be able to develop the economy of the country. It will add on to developing a knowledge-based economy. It's going to develop human capital. And when you look, it's going to develop even the infrastructure, because it's going to be the first observatory, the first planetarium, like I said. And in terms of tourism, we'll be having people coming in to come and see it, visitors, the general public, and so on. So the Astro Park is just like the first pillar of Vision 2036. Everything encompassed in there. And the president is always talking about reset agenda. Priority number 3, digitalization. And they say the global village runs on the wheels of digitalization, which is essential for service delivery. So when we talk about Astro Park, like I said, we can separate it from technology, we can separate it from digitalization. And we always hear about digital transformation through innovation ecosystem. So we believe that Astro Park is an innovative plan. So it will be able to add on to the digital transformation plan. We always talk about economic diversification. We don't want to lean only in diamonds. We don't want to lean only on agriculture. So we need to diversify the economy and drive the country towards the 4th industrial revolution. So through space science initiatives like Astro Park, we'll be able to do just that. And this one is important, promoting Botswana's indigenous knowledge, Setswana astronomy. This one is like key, because we know that our elders always had a way of explaining astronomy. even though they didn't know it's astronomy, but they had a way of telling us about the stars, that now it's time to plow. If you see the star, it means it's going to rain, we are going to have food, and so on. So through Astro Park, we want to be able to promote Botswana's indigenous knowledge. So we are planning that we want to have like older people coming into Astro Park and teaching the younger generation about how Botswana used to say, what can I say, to talk about astronomy in their native languages. So we want the younger generation to not only know astronomy in the modern day, but also to know astronomy in the older days, like how our older generation used to talk about the stars and so on. So we want to promote the indigenous knowledge through Astro Park. So what timelines are we looking at? So the site is already there. We were hoping, or we are hoping, that in this current financial year, if we can get the project started, it means we'll have both the planetarium and the observatory up and running by 2026, 2027. But all this is dependent on the finances, how soon we get money and so on. But that's the vision that we have in terms of the timelines. Yeah. Okay. So the most important bit, like the money, how much are we looking at? How much is going to determine the timelines? So we have divided the project into two. We have phase 1 of the project, and then we have phase 2 of the project. So phase 1 will be like the optical observatory. So here we are talking the telescope, the dome, and the building construction. So in terms of the equipment itself, we are looking at 14.7 million, and then the construction will be around 10.8 million. So the total is 25.5 million. And then phase 2, we are looking at the planetarium equipment, building construction, and then the operation cost. So the planetarium cost will be like 5.5 million, and then the construction will be 8.4 million. So we assume that the operation cost will be like 100,000 every year. So that will be like 400,000 in 4 years. So for phase 2, we are looking at 13.9 million. So the total for the whole project, it will be something like close to 40 million. So normally when we present the slide to potential investors, they're normally like, oh, that's a lot of money. But we believe it's something that can be done. We believe that as a country is something that we need to invest in for the future mines that are coming. So I believe these figures didn't put you off in any way. It's something that can be done. So sustainability. Normally when we present to potential funders, we have this question of how is this project going to be able to sustain itself? And I'm hoping maybe by the end of this talk, we'll have like a few minutes where we can like have a little chat or a comment on this regard. I just want to hear just a few comments on what people think about this one. It's very difficult to say because this is purely educational project. So we are not really looking into getting profit from this project, but the main benefit will be towards education. So it's normally very difficult to say, okay, this is how much we are going to get into this project, because like the main aim is not about money, but it's about the value in education. So I think that's where we always get a problem. We will go to a funder and they do have like their main vision, values, or whatever, is to say, okay, we support education and so on. But the moment you present this project, they're like, okay, what value are we going to get? Value here talking about not education, but like how much maybe profit can we get from this project and so on. So I think that's like the major hurdle that we have from meeting with our potential funders. So in terms of sustainability, we are hoping, because we'll be having visitors coming in to come and see Astro Park. If we say maybe we get 5,000 visitors in a year, and then the getting fee or the entrance fee to the park will be something like $20 US. We believe we'll be able to generate some kind of revenue stream. Like you can see there, if in the first year we get like 5,000 visitors, it means that year we can do something like 1.3 million. And if that figure of visitors keep increasing, and maybe in the third year we have something like 10,000 visitors, it means we will have like 2.64 million. But like I say, it's very difficult to derive or get financial value from this project, because it's mainly focusing on outreach, on education, and so on. So I would like to get your views on what you think on this one later on. Okay, so like I said, we are benchmarking from 2 countries, Thailand, which are the technical partners, and Chile, because we believe that Botswana is similar to both countries. If we look at Thailand, the similarities between Botswana and Thailand will be like our GDP is almost similar, even the cost of living is more similar to Botswana. And they also had the same ambition of transforming their economy into a knowledge-based economy, which is something that we want to do as a country. We want to rely less on tourism and agriculture, and maybe diversify our economy. So over a little over 10 years ago, so I think that's where Thailand began to try and boost their economy through astronomy. So now they have like one of the largest and best equipped optical telescopes in Southeast Asia, and they have around 5 regional public observatories, a global network of telescopes, and we are hoping that once we have our telescope in Botswana, it will be part of their global network of telescope. They have a high performance computing center. I think it's one of those that we saw in the video. And their headquarters, I think it's in Chiming. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. So NARIT currently employs around 200 staff. So we can see how much value you can get from astronomy. And we believe that when we benchmark against such cases, we should be able to get somewhere. It's baby steps, but if you see other people have managed to do it, and their circumstances, if I may say, are kind of similar to yours, you do believe that, okay, yeah, this is doable, we can do it. So the other benchmark will be Chile. So Chile, I think it's currently known as the world capital of astronomy. But mind you, Chile is also a desert like we are. So in 2011, Chile was home to 42%. Imagine 42% of the world's astronomical infrastructure was in Chile. And it was estimated that by 2030, like 50% of the global astronomical infrastructure will be in Chile. So why is that so? Their skies are clear, more like what we have here, and dry for more than 300 days a year. So the community, or the scientific community, astronomers are just attracted to go and develop astronomy in Chile because of that. The astronomy community in Chile has both professional amateur astronomers, and they have like international institutions like European Southern Observatory, the NRAO, and they host observatories like the Very Large Telescope and ALMA. So you can see that Chile is quite small, it's a desert, and they host such kind of infrastructure. So we do believe if we can assess ourselves against such giants, eventually we'll get there. So why do we want to develop infrastructure for astronomy? Firstly, like you said, job creation. We are always crying there are no jobs, but we believe we'll be able to create jobs through astrotourism. Developing community skills, educational programs. That's like at the core of the Astro Park. We want to develop community skills through astronomy. We want to develop educational programs that are relevant to astronomy, especially for the young ones. We believe there are socio-economic benefits for the community. If we have Astro Park as a tourist attraction in Palape, imagine what that can do for the Palape community generally. Even for somebody who owns a tuck shop, they will be able to benefit from there. And we also believe this will kind of stimulate just local innovation generally. So in conclusion, like I said when I was talking about the sustainability part, we as a team have started fundraising initiatives so that we can raise the 39 million that we need for the Astro Park. So far, we have approached banks, the government, other entities, and this is an ongoing initiative that we are embarking on. I think generally I can say it's quite promising, though there are a few hurdles, like I mentioned, the issue of sustainability and people want to gain maybe a bit of financial value from this. But yeah, I think we can say it's quite promising. We have been promised a little something by the government, and the banks are also promising. So we believe we can do like kind of crowd funding where somebody gives you like 2 million there, 1 million there, and you are able to continue with other phases of the project. So this is currently ongoing. We'll be going out to meet other people, to meet other potential funders, and see how this goes. So I'm hoping that next time when maybe I'm giving an update on this, I'll come back and say, okay, maybe we have started phase 1 or we have started phase 2 of the project. But I do believe that soon we'll have like a legal something going on in regards of this project. So I've come to the end of my talk, and thank you. And any questions or comments? Thank you, Mike.
Well, thank you, Kush, for
Thank you very much.
Thank you for a very informative talk that has given all the background context, shown the importance of this, and some of the hurdles still to be overcome before this becomes reality. But I'm very optimistic personally. Anyway, questions and comments. So there were certain comments invited during the talk, but I'm sure there are other questions too.
Yeah, I've got a comment.
Yeah, go ahead, Ron.
I really enjoyed that presentation. I think it's fantastic, and it's a wonderful opportunity for Botswana. Well, I've got actually quite a few comments, but I'll try and do them shortly. Are you not being too ambitious about the number of cloudless days you have in Palapi? Because we find here in Gaborone that you can only guarantee cloudless days in winter. Summer, there's always cloud. And I don't know about Palapi. I'd imagine it'd be much the same. That's the first thing. The second thing is the world is going into a huge inflation. Are you allowing for inflation in your capital costs? Because those really can cane you later on with inflationary costs, especially of capital equipment. Thirdly, are you going to link in it all to SKA? I think it would be very, very interesting somehow or other if there was a link and people could maybe listen to what's happening from the universe, getting the signals, just seeing something from coming out of SKA. It would be very nice, because you actually don't want to be an exact copy of NARIT. You want to be a little bit better than them. And that's what I thought. We've got the opportunity with SKA here. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you so much, Harold. I think for the SKA bit, so the main dish, the AVN one, will be the one that will be part of the SKA, since it's a radio astronomy project. but this one, it's optical, so it won't really be part of the SKA, since the SKA is more of a radio project, but maybe in terms of just collaborating in terms of research and so on. So in terms of the finances, like you said, are we accounting for inflation and so on? Yeah, yes, we did. The initial budget that we had was about 81 million. So we added, I think it was around 20%, so that we account for the inflation rate. And the last one, are we not being ambitious in terms of the cloud cover in Palape? Maybe we are being optimistic, but okay, even though we can't say it in terms of like so and so days and so on, but I think just generally, Botswana as a country, we do have like clear skies most of the time. But yeah, like you said, in summer we do have like cloud coverage here and there. But when you compare Botswana to like UK or wherever, we can say, yeah, we are better placed in terms of astronomy. Our skies are mostly clear, to be honest. I believe I've touched on everything that you brought up.
Thank you. I think you've answered it very well. Thank you.
Thanks, Harold. Thanks, Kush. Do we have other questions?
Hi, I have a question.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Yeah, Miranda.
Okay, so good evening. My name is Miranda Hubert. I have a question about the ecological sustainability of the project. So we've been talking about tourism and infrastructural development, but what happens to the ecosystem there? If we're clearing all that land, or if it's clear, maybe that's fine, but the trees, the ecosystem that we're losing, the trees, whatever habitats were there before, if anything is going to be killed, cleared away, how are we going to replace that? Are we going to build trees somewhere else? Plant trees, sorry, somewhere else? How are we going to make sure that even though we've built this place, if it's going to be built there, we're not going to harm the environment irreparably? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much for your question, Miranda. I think it's quite interesting. When you were saying the ecosystem, I was thinking like the innovation ecosystem that I was on about. The land, it's not clear, but we don't have like big trees. It's mostly rocky because it's just by the entrance of BIUST. But I believe if we were to clear the land, we will somehow have to plant back the trees to make sure we don't damage the ecosystem. But thank you so much for bringing that up, because I think it's one of those things that we don't normally think that much about. So thank you so much for bringing that up. I will make sure that if we were to take down anything, we will definitely plant the trees back. So thank you, Miranda.
Yeah, good point. Okay, Rodri, I see you've had your hand up for a while.
Oh, well, not that long. Thank you. Great talk, Kush. I had a question regarding the funding, because obviously for this exciting project to happen, funding is, it can't happen without funding. So you mentioned that we've approached banks and the government. Have any private industries been approached, commercial companies? So that's the first part of my question. And then related to that, I'm wondering, this is maybe more aimed at Mike than you, Kush. I'm wondering if there's any pots of money in the UK or in other European countries which can help with these kind of developments in Botswana.
Okay, thank you, Rodri. I'll answer the first part, then I will let Mike comment. Yeah, we have like a list of companies that we are yet to go to. But firstly, we started off with the banks, because maybe we did believe that they have maybe a bit of hunger or enthusiasm when it comes to enthusiastic when it comes to sponsoring such project. But yeah, we do have a wide range of other potential funders that we want to approach. So I don't know, maybe I can share maybe a list of people that we have approached and those we are hoping to approach. I don't know how we can do so that maybe people can comment on who they think we have forgotten and maybe who they think will be in a better position to sponsor this project. Because like I said, it's quite difficult to show the importance of the project to most people because they want to see the value that they will gain from the project other than them just thinking that they need to invest in education. So yeah, it's kind of mixed up, but yeah, we have approached a few other people besides the banks, and we are still planning to approach other entities like private entities. So I hope I've touched on your comment.
So, Mike, remember the meeting that we had with Roger Dean to discuss the refurbishment of the planetarium at Wits?
Yeah.
And wasn't the major sponsor for that De Beers?
Yeah, it was Anglo-American.
Anglo-American.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, right. Yeah,
Yeah. No, that's
Yeah,
right.
I think Botswana was approached when this project first started, but like I've been saying, they wanted to see like the value that they're going to get from this project. So I guess it was difficult because I think when Anglo-American was interviewed to say like what was in it for you, they just said, okay, education. We just wanted to take part and make sure that we give people education. But I guess it's different, to be honest, from other organizations how they see these things.
Yeah. If I can just comment, first of all, there was a calculation that you did at one time I saw on the additional income to Botswana from tourists just staying an additional day or so, because the dwell time of tourists, international tourists in Botswana, is incredibly short. Actually, it's like 2 days or something.
It's ridiculously short, isn't it? Given how far they come in.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I think it's like 2-3 days, but it's short.
Yeah, and on average, I think you gave the number in the talk. On average, they're spending $500 a day or something each.
Yeah,
so you get them
because they don't spend so much time.
Yeah. So you get them to stay another day or so by introducing astrotourism, of which this is part. That income is quite considerable very quickly. So anyway,
it's an increase if they're staying 2 days and we increase it to a 3-day stay. It's an increase of 50%, isn't it?
Exactly.
Which is given how much money comes from tourism. If you increased it by 50%, that's a big increase.
Yeah. And to stay an extra day, it doesn't sound like very much for what they would get back in terms of seeing the dark skies, coming to the planetarium, all that sort of stuff. And it's just a question of putting all this together and making sure that tourists know that this is available. Anyway, Rodri, you asked a question about UK funding. If we went back about 5 years, I'd say I'd know exactly where to go. I'd know exactly who to talk to. And I would say the probability is incredibly high that we would get the cash because there was funding in the UK for exactly this sort of thing, which they didn't quite know what to spend it on, to be honest. Then the international overseas aid budget was slashed in the UK, and that pot of money virtually disappeared, along with a lot of other and it's had big effects in parts of the world that are really suffering in all sorts of ways. So that was a very sad thing that happened. And in Europe, there are still pots of money around through the European Union. They tend to be rather difficult to get at and administer, but it's not impossible. So there's that route. But also one thing that we benefited from here in Liverpool was high net worth individuals who are interested in astronomy. And I tell you some stories there that did turn out really well for us. And part of the Liverpool telescope, which is the big optical telescope in the Canary Isles, was funded through benefaction. Anonymously, I know who it was, but it was anonymous benefaction. And made the difference between that project happening and not happening. that is it's a very difficult route to tread, and I could tell you the tale of a lunch I had with that particular individual where I wanted to ask him for this money, and I was going to ask him during the first course, and I thought, no, I'll leave it till the main course. And I went through the main course, and I thought, no, I'll leave it till dessert. We got to dessert, and I thought, no, I'll ask him during coffee. So in coffee, I said, I've got something to ask you. And he said, I thought you never ask. I'm going to give you X £100,000 for the project. So anyway, I'm not the best person as a salesperson, but it is possible to get these things. But you just need to know somebody with net worth who is really interested in astronomy and also furthering the aims of your project. So there is that avenue too.
Brian May, obviously got a PhD in astronomy, which he'd abandoned to pursue his career with Queen. Eventually got it again. I know he's interested. He maintains an interest in astronomy and the environment. Yeah. I have no idea how familiar he is with Southern Africa. I do know someone who knows him.
Yeah, I know him actually. Yeah.
Oh, you know him? Okay, well then I have a degree of separation. So.
No, he was the chancellor of the university here, and he was
yes.
here, so I know him reasonably well. Yeah. Anyway, I've been trying to get him to come to Botswana for a while, but we'll see. Yeah. So there are those people around. Anyway, I've rambled on enough about this, but I'm together with other people keeping our eyes out for potential source of funding. The UK is not quite the source that it was at one time, but it's not impossible.
But coming back to the point you were making about the tourism, Mike, I mean, if we were to, if establishing this helped to increase the tourism spend by 50%, I mean, the thing would pay for itself very quickly.
Easily, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. You just have to get that message across, and you have to make sure that everything is firm,
So if the government, can be persuaded that this would lead to a boost in tourism of, let's argue 50%, then it's an investment for them that they would quickly recoup. Yeah,
yeah. Well, as Kush was saying, part of the funding that's being looked at the moment would come from governments, and that would be part of that sort of argument. But yeah, it's just a question of getting that ball rolling. Anyway, yeah. Sorry, other people will perhaps have other questions. Oh, Gin. Yeah, sorry, Gin. Go ahead.
Hi, good evening. Kushatha, it was a very, very informative presentation on this very interesting project that is taking place right now. Well done, it was very good. Mike and Kushatha, I just have some thoughts on sponsorship, just thoughts. If when going to a big corporate, I think rather than going into the area of what is the value that corporate can get out of this, it's better to pitch into the corporate social responsibility, or CSR, that these big corporates all do have, and that's one. And then there is a very a growing organization. It's a 100% government organization, which is the Okuango Diamond Company, ODC, as it's known. It's getting bigger and bigger in the years to come. And that's one organization that can be approached. The CEO is former President Masire's son. He's very approachable. Will listen to this kind of development and project. And the other thought that I had in mind was, we have a very famous astronomer in Botswana, based in Maun, Stephen Omera. He's got very strong contacts in the US, and he travels around a lot. He's got a lot of contacts with observatories in the US. He's a US citizen. And he is worth talking to and seeing what he has to say about US-based observatories like in Arizona, in Hawaii, who I'm sure he would know. and be able to maybe co-sponsor technically and financially as well in such a project as this.
Okay, thank you so much, Gian, for all the recommendations. So I just wanted to touch on a bit on the one that you mentioned for the CSR. You know, you'll be quite shocked that actually before we approach, let's say, an organization or whoever, we'll sit down and try to research on their social responsibility and so on. And you find that they've listed education, supporting education from the root as one of their corporate social responsibility goals or whatever. But you take that and you pitch to them saying, oh, okay, that's fine, because this is what you say you support. We have this project, can you support it? And you'll be surprised because they will just go back and say, okay, but what value are we getting from this? So it's kind of tricky, to be honest, because that's what they say. We support education, but you bring an astronomy project or an education project, and they're like, but what are we getting from this? But yeah, story for another day. But thank you so much for the recommendations.
It needs some thought. It needs some thought to promote astronomy as a CSR, education through astronomy as a CSR. It needs some thought.
Yeah. Perhaps you would provide Steve O'Meara's contact details to Kush, and anybody who has any ideas in this sort of direction, perhaps they could do the same if Kushatha's email is made available to participants or whatever, if that's okay. Is that something we could do again? Kush, does that sound?
Yes, I'm just sharing my email on the chat. So if anybody has anything, please do drop me an email.
From where? Sorry, pardon. From where are most of the astro tourism people? Where do they come from? And how is the internet access affecting astro or any other form of tourism? To consider that.
I didn't quite get that, David.
Yes. Where do most of the astro tourism people come from? And how is video linking and internet affecting the tourism aspect?
Okay. Do you mean like currently, do we have some people doing astrotourism currently?
Yes. From what nation are they? Or is there a particular group, or is it international?
Oh, okay. I think people who are trying to do astrotourism currently are just people maybe because I heard somebody said they went for stargazing when they went to Makgadikgadi Epic. So I don't know who were the guys who were doing that. But yeah, we do have a few Botswana-owned companies like Titanium Valley who try to do astronomy activities. But I don't know if in the Delta we do have people who do stargazing of some sort. I'm not sure on that one, but it will be just the locals, just doing it like the traditional way, of just explaining the stars or just going out to enjoy the clear skies and so on. But I'm not sure of any particular group that does that. In terms of the internet and astrotourism, I don't think the internet will be a hindrance to that, if I got your question. But I believe others can comment, but no, I don't think it's a hindrance.
I think as far as the nationalities of potential astro tourists are concerned, certainly they would be a subset or typical of the sort of tourists that come internationally into Botswana. Those are from North America and from Europe mainly, and certainly from countries such as where the skies in fact, most of the world where the skies are not as good as they are in Botswana. Those are the sorts of people you'd attract. And going back a few years now, amateur astronomy was the fastest growing hobby in the Western Hemisphere. And there's enormous public interest in it. So, you know, in the United States, there are whole astronomy villages where people buy or have timeshares in properties in places in Arizona, for example. So, you know, Namibia is developing its astro-tourism very rapidly, and other countries are too. There's places you can go to on holiday in Spain, for example, and spend a week in an astro camp. So Botswana is ripe for exploiting this. And just to answer your question there, I think, again, the range of nationalities is going to be typical of the sort of tourists who come to Botswana, to be honest, internationally. Gian, I think we'll have to make this probably the last question. And then, Gian, if you could say a few words at the end about the next. Yeah.
Yes. Just one last question, Kush. I think it's very important to not just depend on tourists, but to depend more on the local population. And to do that, I think this project and what you're explaining to us has to be taken to senior secondary schools across Botswana, and through those students obviously to their parents as well, so that by the time this project is up and running, the whole of Botswana's younger generation knows about this and is very excited with the progress of this project, so that you are not totally dependent on tourists coming in to Botswana, but tourists from Botswana itself populating the Astro Park.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kian.
Yes. So thank you very much. I'd just like to inform everyone who's here that next month, the Astronomical Society of Botswana has its annual general meeting. It's going to be a live session, most likely at the MAP school. And we are in negotiation and conversation with leading astrophysicist in South Africa, Professor Tebi. And he's yet to confirm to us that he would be present there to make a live presentation at the AGM. And that's, if it works out, it's going to be a very exciting presentation, because he's involved in a lot of construction work in observatories across South Africa. And we were fortunate to go across to his initial project at the Northwest University in Mafeking, and it's really a fantastic amount of work that he's doing there. So we are hoping to get Professor Tebi there, and towards the end of September will be the AGM of the Astronomical Society. So I hope all our members and those who are not members as well, who are present here, would join us. I'll keep you informed over email. Thank you. Thank you, Kushatha.
Yeah, okay. Thank you again for reminding people about next month's meeting, and I hope that live presentation comes off. But obviously, all those details will be on email to everybody here and others as well. But again, thanks to Kush for a great talk and an inspiring talk and a great vision. And we hope that over the next 2 or 3 years, this will actually come to reality. So any suggestions, comments that anybody here has, you have Kush's email address, and I know she'd be very grateful for any of those comments and suggestions. But in the meantime, thanks for attending. Have a good evening, and hope to see most of you and others as well next month. So thank you all. Good evening.
Thank you. Thanks very much, Mike.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.